Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to episode 24 of the British Boxing Blog podcast with me, Stephen.
And me, Andrew.
Yes, first time.
Absolutely nailed
yes.
it. We've got that now, scrap. It's a wrap.
You alright?
I'll just chop that little bit out again. A bit of editing. What day are we on? Wednesday. A little bit of a midweek edition.
Midweek, face to face, Shildon.
Giving myself a couple of days to just digest the weekend's action. It's bizarre that we've actually had a weekend packed full of boxing. I've struggled to fit it all in.
Flying at the minute, as you say. Look back on last weekend and again look forward to this one.
It's like we can sort of cut out all the
busy,
hypothesising and guessing what might happen if boxers actually fight, because there's been a few that have actually met in the ring, and we can just discuss that for a change.
Very true. Where do you want to start? What's best?
I did open it out to questions from our Twitter followers and got approximately 0 responses, which is good because I think we've got too much to go in anyway. Should we do a chronological order, or do you want to go local first?
Do you want to start state side first with Spence, Garcia?
I was going to go before then. There was the Friday show as well. Farmer Carol. Stephen's not going to be totally blank there. Clearly hasn't watched that one.
No, not it. I was thinking, I thought you were Dennis Hobson in Sheffield. I thought you started with that. No offence to Dennis Hobson promotions, like.
I forgot about I'd even watched that. No.
Well,
so right, that's seriously in terms of boxing shows that we've watched. So there was that one that was on Free Sports on Friday night.
That's good.
Then there was the Matchroom Show USA with Tevin Farmer and John O'Carroll. Then we were both at the co-promotion of Steve Wraith and Phil Jeffries at Rainton Meadows. Then there was Spence Garcia on ITV4. And then there was Mick Conlon on Sunday night.
Mick Conlon, that's very true,
That's 5 shows we've got to try and get through.
And then we're both going to London this weekend, so we're going to talk about that as well. Start from the top, Friday night. Matchroom USA we'll start with.
So did you, obviously you're looking at me like you hadn't watched it, but you saying you had? I think we both thought that based on the most recent performances, I thought Farmer would prove too good for Carroll and eventually wear him down to stop him.
I had a tenner on the Farmer stoppage. Just going off what you said there, I thought I'd seen enough against Tennyson where I thought, I didn't think John could stop him, and I just thought, I thought Farmer would have got to him eventually, but sort of, I like John and his sound, and he follows us on Instagram and Twitter, and he's always good crack, but from a betting point of view, when you go for the stoppage, Farmer must be one of the most frustrating fighters.
Head over heart. He's never had a big puncher's record, has he? He hasn't got that many stoppages.
Just think he could have had him going at a few points in the fight, and for whatever reason didn't seem to want to really open up and take him out of there.
Yeah, he caught him with a few clean punches and clean shots, and he just sort of wonder, again, those question marks of how much one punch power does he have.
He was hitting them cleanly,
he didn't, and John took them. I think he slowed down a bit, Carroll, towards the end.
I'm surprised he started like an
honestly, some of the stats and stuff, was it the third highest punch output in a fight at super featherweight or something?
It was relentless. It was just one big display of come forward, head down, fists up, fighting.
But even his corner in between rounds were imploring him to throw less. They were saying that rather than throwing 8 and 9 punches at a time, make it 3 or 4 and pick them a bit more. But I think that's a bit like a case of easier said than done. I think once he's in there, he's thought, I can't get myself in and work at him without throwing on my way in, throwing while I'm in, and then having the sort of breather. But
so do you think that's his lack of power then, basically, that hasn't troubled Farmer? Because if you're throwing that many punches, and
I think the lack of accuracy as well. I think in terms of giving Farmer credit, he slipped a lot, he rolled a lot, he didn't take many clean. Lovely gesture there, Stephen, holding his elbow up around his ear, trying to. It was that sort of awkward technique, isn't it? Like his arms, they were coming up with different angles to block the shots, and I don't think at any point he was particularly uncomfortable in there. And again, Carroll's not a massive puncher in terms of his record, and looking at it like that, you think it was obviously going to go the distance.
I put me generic sort of, and I meant it, but it seems to happen a lot these days where I put the old brave effort tweet and good you know, but
I think
it was a good.
I think that was though, like, you know, obviously any Brit who goes abroad in a world title fight or in a fight where they're the underdog, they're getting this brave thing thrown at them.
And I don't mean to do it in a patronising way.
No, because I would say that, like,
some efforts are gutsy, and that
what
was
could,
one. And,
what could Carroll have done? Like, yes, we're talking about like tactics and maybe being a bit technically better, but in terms of his effort and what he put into that fight, he's not going to come away thinking, like, I could have done more. He's put everything in that he could have, and you know, he hasn't disgraced himself by any means.
He hasn't. He's just added, which I've alluded to quite a few times in the past, that he's now added to that list of British or Irish fighters that are now going as the B-side in a, you know, DAZN USA type fight and getting beat.
I think with the recent,
this is getting ever longer and
well, obviously John O's MTK as well, isn't he? Like the recent link up with like the MTK and ESPN. I think we're going to see a lot more Brits and Irish going away.
Like, I've always followed his career quite, you know, closely, and I remember being with you at, was it Crawler Perez maybe? And, you know, as we do, getting from the first bell, and I remember he was like really early on that night, and it was post-prize fighter, but he was on the bill dead early, and I just remember like probably more than 3, 5, 6 people right at the top.
I remember the flags.
The Irish flag, and go on, John Owen. I thought, what a canny lad. And that night, I think he must have went, say, 6 rounds and didn't, you know, and I've seen him a few times live and never thought, he's a big puncher, but he's apparent again on Friday.
He had a couple of sort of stoppages recently, didn't he? And you think, no, was he sort of filling out, developing a bit?
His fights with Garrity were always entertaining, like sort of grudge match.
They absolutely hammered him last time.
Fights, that's right.
But then
it was quite a big jump quite soon, I think, for him. But
he fought in the eliminator, didn't he, last time out, and it was actually a draw. So then, like, you think, well, surely they need to do that eliminator again if there hasn't been a winner decided. But the promotional sway's got him the chance.
Then Eddie Hearn, as he does, and spins a positive light on it and says, individually, you know, for John Owen, going over there fighting like that, it catches the eye of people, and this is the start of the journey, and he impressed people, you know, people stateside, you know. And
I think he will, with his personality. Did you see the video afterwards as well?
I haven't actually seen it, no.
Him and Tevin Farmer went for Philly cheesesteaks together.
Did they really?
Apparently they'd said something about it in the build-up, and then there's a video on Jono's Instagram, him and, I'm assuming his missus, sat in the back seat, and Tevin Farmer and his missus are like in the front, nice. And they're getting off, and he's like, he's not loving it.
Yeah. I guess it could be, I think the Irish always travel well, don't they? And
especially this weekend, isn't it?
A big Irish community in America as well, and could be one of those Spike O'Sullivan types that, you know, has a lot of his fights over there now. You just don't know.
Well, I think as well, because obviously on that card, Katie Taylor also featured in St. Patrick's Day weekend.
We discussed Katie Taylor in the car the other day, didn't we? Just on the way to Raiden Meadows. He's got a blank look.
I've got a totally blank look.
Remember Katie Taylor discussion.
I can imagine what it'll be because I know exactly what I'm going to say now. But
we're not. We're just saying we're by no means experts on women's boxing, but she's obviously a trailblazer, and she's actually someone that I do like to watch. And I don't mean that in a patronising way. I sort of basically followed her since I knew her from the Olympic days and that. But
in your limited knowledge and in my limited knowledge, would you think it's fair to say that she's suffering from a lack of competition or lack of known competition?
Lack of known competition, basically. Like if you,
I've got no idea how good Volante is or was. I know she was holding the WBO belt that was on the line. And obviously Taylor's now got 3 of the 4. But I was in no doubt, maybe looking at the bet odds, that Katie Taylor was going to win. It was just whether she stopped there or whether it went the distance.
I couldn't tell you if
she's a class above.
If she unifies, who would it be against? Who's her next potential opponent? When she's on, I like watching her, and she's always gives good value. She's ferocious and relentless, and she's a star in her own right. And I think Matchroom, you know, they get a lot of stick, but they're the best in the business of sort of taking that person and making them a star. Do you know what I mean? And she's fought in the States a few times now. It's not like, compare the job they've done with Katie Taylor to say thanks done with Nicola Adams, who turned over to us equally as much fanfare and as maybe even a more well-known name in this country.
Yeah.
But had basically a bit of an anonymous pro career, really. And I know she was scheduled to fight for a world title, but it just doesn't seem to have that same.
But again, like I know obviously roughly, I know like Katie Taylor's lightweight and like Adams is a smaller fighter, but I've got no idea whether that would have been, you know what I mean, before you sort of start watching it and taking a bit of interest, you're like, oh well, would they fight each other, or are they anywhere near each other in weight? And like, obviously I don't think like, they're not, but as just what you said, I've got no idea. Like if Katie Taylor completely unifies, undisputed, wins all 4 belts in that division,
I think it's a shame that...
Is there anyone else she can fight in that division, or does she move up?
I guess from a really sort of casual...
That's what it is, a casual point of view.
That it's a shame that the sort of Tasha Jonas journey derailed so early as a pro, and she got stopped that time. And because they're both well-known names, and they were talking about fighting, and it just obviously.
I imagine, and being cynically, I imagine that's why Matchroom signed the pair of them.
I think the awareness
of putting them together.
Not to go on like a big feminist tip here, but I think the awareness of women's boxing is definitely increasing, and I think obviously you've got people like Shannon Courtney making a debut this weekend down at the Cotter Box. You've got from up here, you've got people like Savannah Marshall and Hannah Robinson, really good amateur boxer.
Hannah Rankin as
from
well.
Berkeley. Hannah Rankin, Scotland, Chantal Cameron.
There are.
You can't name them, and I guess it's like any sport really. It's just about it's increasing your knowledge and taking a bit more of an interest.
Yeah, and it is, and it is get sort of more progressive. I think obviously the big promoters are taking a punt on it, and obviously we've been to a few shows where there's a women's bout on, and initially there's no way of putting it. There is a sort of a lull in the interest in it a bit, but
there is.
Just what you said, they're becoming a bit more familiar with them, and I'm not a massive one for like storylines and building characters and things, but the more you do sort of see them and get to know them and recognise them, the more interest you take. That's like a natural human
absolutely
interest, isn't it?
So they were the only 2 fights I did watch on that card. I missed the one you were telling me about again on Saturday.
Rosado Solecki, absolute classic, honestly.
You looked at one.
If you get a chance to watch it.
About that one.
I thought like Rosado was done. Like I think I was tweeting along those lines, like, he's shot, he's past it, he's got absolutely no punch resistance, he's got nothing left. And then in like the 9th and 10th round of the 10 rounder, he dropped him and put it on him, and again he comfortably lost, but it just sort of added to it a bit, and like you think suddenly like it gave Sky, because Adam Smith was what a fight, blah blah blah. So what was it? Someone tweeted it was like fight of the year so far and all this, and you're like steady on it. It was a one-sided dominant performance, save for 1 round, but it just sort of added that. Like I completely zoned out. I stayed up and I was watching them live, and I was just like, "All right, he's winning this. He's cruising."
It's good dedication. I stayed up for Farmer Camel card. Like
honestly, I was just wide awake. I was like debating it, and then I'd watched the Hobson card on Free Sports, and then I was like, well, actually, I'm not tired here. I'll just might as well sit up, and I just sat and watched the whole thing.
I was gonna go back to that one on Free Sports.
We'll move on to that one now because we've covered the Matchroom USA.
Stay on Friday night, and I think since we started this, that was, I guess, always one of our things that we did was we'd watch anyone and anything, and do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying this to spout you, it was a Commonwealth title fight. Friday night, I was, as I told you via voice note, I was in the house and I had a night in. I wasn't out, no plans at all, and I was struggling for something to watch.
Surprise me.
Flicked. You make sound like I've got no life. I just night in the house. Flicking through the channels.
To be fair, I did drop you off at a pub on Saturday after the boxing, so you've got that one in your favour.
I feel like doing a partridge, like, I've got a girlfriend. But I'm not gonna. Anyway.
Literally just
partridge myself. Anyway, in the house Friday night, flicking through the channels. Didn't know, nothing of interest was on, and I wasn't aware prior to this, that this fight was on, and flicked up the sport channels and then landed on Free Sports, and it said live boxing. I thought, live boxing, let's see what we've got here. Then went on Free Sports, it was just 2 fights shown live. It was part of the Dennis Hobson show in Sheffield, headlined by Super Tommy Frank, who defeated Luke Wilton from Belfast in a cracking super flyweight Commonwealth title fight, which only his 10th pro fight, and I was really impressed with it. Boxed really well. He put him down early, then managed to get the stoppage, and it was a decent little. It was the first time I'd watched him, and I was quite impressed with him. He was, as I said, there he's 10-0. He's former centre lightweight champion, now Commonwealth champion, and I looked at his record before. I think he was 1 stoppage and 9 going into it, and I thought, is he just good but no power? But he had far too much power for Luke Wilton, unfortunately, from Belfast, and class, and it was good. Just you're a big advocate of the small hall scene up here, and it did have that feel, smallish venue, but passionate home crowd cheering on their man, and
it was like,
pleased with him. Good.
Coincidentally, it was around about the same time you messages. I was looking for the Sky Show, and I was flicking through the guide, and I put it on the sports channels, and that came up, and I thought, I'll watch that, and I started sitting watching it, and it wasn't the boxing, there was something else on. It was like an advert for something, and I was thinking, maybe the boxing's not live, maybe the guy, program info's wrong or whatever. And it came on, and I thought, right, I'm going to message you, and I looked at my phone, and they had the message, the voice note off you, saying, great minds think alike.
Don't want to go too far ahead and cover Saturday, but just something I said to you, I think it was on Saturday night, was that with the little fellas and super flyweight here, we're talking that in this country there's not that many of them, so
they get thrown in the deep end.
They have to, like I said there, 10 fights, Tommy Frank, Central Area, Commonwealth, and we had the same up here with the Somba, do you know what I mean? He went that route and Commonwealth titles and stuff, and we've got another little fella that we'll talk about in a bit, Joe Maphosa, who was in a very competitive fight on Saturday, and they can't really avoid each other as much, and
there's not as many learning fights and opportunities
because there's not that many fighters to go around. So,
but basically, as well, you can't bring as is often the case. You'll see, for example, a welterweight prospect, and he's fighting a lightweight who's come up in weight just for that fight, or light welter or whatever, and they're just there to take him the rounds. Whereas obviously, if you're the lower weight classes, as in the bottom of the weight classes in England or in UK, whatever, they aren't the opponents to bring up. So
absolutely,
you see that they're often talking about Joe there, and obviously we will get on to him. He's fought the same opponent twice before in his career, in his short career, because they just haven't got the opponents. And I'm just reiterate what you said about Frank there. It was really impressive, and he's got the Commonwealth belt. There's talk of him going in with Sonny Edwards, just on Twitter, and nothing sort of.
He said he'd fight anyone in the world.
Well, that's it, nothing. But you've got Sonny Edwards, who you'd say is obviously sort of European level. I know WBO, European belt and stuff. But again, already, because they don't have these as long to spend in their career learning. They don't have 15 fights and then get to British level.
But no, it was
thrown in at the deep end straight away.
It was good to land on that, and there was one fight on before that, and that was Michael Gomez Jr., who lost over 6 rounds to Henry James. Which I really enjoyed watching. I get passionate about these things, and I'd describe it to you as like a Welsh version of Jordan Ellison. And if anyone's not familiar with him, I think the best way to describe it, I wouldn't say a journeyman, but a road warrior. Do you know what I mean? He's not that. He goes to win, and he and so as did Henry on Friday night, and Jordan does the same from up here, and took some scalps in each time and beat some good kids, and a fair amount of losses on his record too, but always goes to win, whereas your traditional journeyman I guess doesn't, and they know what they're there for. But Henry did, and he beat Michael Gomez Jr. over 6 rounds.
It's another one who you sort of questioned previously, hadn't you?
So where's
he gone? What's happened to him?
When we first started the Twitter up, he was, we used to interact with him a lot, and he was good crack, and must seem to just disappear off the socials side of things, and I think he'd had 10 fights in 5 years, which was probably half his problem. Do you know what I mean? He looked very raw and still a bit as he was learning his trade, and not really any progression, because I guess how can you progress having 2 fights a year? Do you know what I mean?
Well, this is it. Obviously, we talk, and everyone sort of within boxing talks about how important it is to stay active, to get the fights in, especially early on in your career.
And I think,
and you need to face different styles. You need to be in the gym, ticking over all the time, and have that freshness to you. And it's the only way you're going to really build like a sharpness.
They hinted on that in commentary. Don McGuinness and Glenn McCrory just saying that debatable questions in the past over his lifestyle and his nutrition, and he still needs to get settled on a weight, and it makes you think, God, if he's not settled on his weight now after 5 years as a pro, and what weight is he going to fight at, and is he taking it seriously or not? And it just looked like a bit, I don't know, like a bit rushed and a bit. He wasn't ready for that. He composed himself over 3, 4 and 5 and stuff, but I do agree that he probably did lose the fight. Maybe could have pitched for a draw. We had a similar fight up here at the weekend that was, I guess, similarly scored over 6 rounds. Just the narrowest of margins, but
it wasn't like a one-sided.
There was no real
losing Dennis every round type thing.
Dennis Hobson said he thought he'd shaded it, Gomez, but.
He's bound to say that.
He's bound to say that. It's his man. But he did say to stand by him, and again, it's
Again, as there wasn't a lot in it, you probably could have made a case for it, but I think
you just think
from watching, I think James deserved the nod.
Yeah, definitely.
It's nice to see the away fighter getting it when they
100% when they deserve it.
Because obviously it doesn't always happen.
No. So that was Friday night. Again, nice to just stumble across some local scene boxing, and credit to Dennis Hobson. He's been linked. He's been up here a few times in the past. Worked closely with Jaffers, didn't he? And, good man. Still co-united all these years later.
Yeah, exactly. And so is Jaffers, so Steve
Jaffers,
Ray. So we'll continue with the local interest. We'll move on to our particular local interest.
Yeah, we'll move on to our show on Saturday that we both went to, our local show at Raton Meadows in County Durham.
A 9-fight card.
9-fight card, which up here...
I know there'll be people listening in London thinking that doesn't sound particularly special. 26
fights at the York Hall from like 2 in the afternoon or something. But we were spoiled by a 9-fight card on Saturday. It was good to both be there, ringside.
It was, nice to mingle as ever.
Nice to see every one of the North East boxing families.
Pretty much everyone was there.
Everyone was there. It was good to see everyone. It was a good night. A lot of our leading prospects and headlined by a really good fight. By 2 little fellas.
A couple of a few familiar faces on the card, and one new one. Michael Webster made his debut to open up the show at cruiserweight.
First I wasn't too familiar.
No, I'm still not, to be honest. I said hello to him after fighting that, but
Gisborough, was he Gisborough lad? Teesside lad?
Teesside, I think, somewhere around there.
Teesside.
It's all the same, innit?
Sit right on that fence.
Down south. He impressed. He looked like comfortable.
40-36.
Yeah, I was going to say won every round against
Dmitry
Kalinovsky. Yeah, well, I was going to mention that as we went on, but there were a few 40-36s, and for anyone who follows small hall boxing, obviously you're aware of what happens, and you've got prospects against opponents that, not that they're not there to win, but they're there to take the young lads the rounds and maybe show them something a bit different. And it can get, especially when we're tweeting our updates,
tedious maybe?
Yeah, a little bit like monotonous, because you're thinking, each fight is different, but then if you just view it on the scores and things, then...
Like by the end of round 2, if you don't think the knockout's coming, you could type out your sort of defeats him 40-36 thing and just get ready to post it by the end of round 4.
Yeah, of course, and again, we do that. We haven't done that.
There wasn't a way win on the card.
I was going to say, we'll build up to that, don't worry, because the last,
fight by fight.
To be honest, the last 3 fights especially, not that the others weren't good fights, but the last 3 really sort of caught a light. There was a good mix there, as you say. There was an away corner getting the nod, there was an early stoppage, and then the main event was an absolute cracking fight.
If you work your way up, Webster, as you said, good pro debut. Then I think, was it straight on to Terry Wilkinson after that, or was he second on Wilkinson?
I can't even remember the order, but there was...
We'll go with the box fight order.
Yeah, so there was Terry Wilkinson, Terry Tyers, and Joe Hill, all secured comfortable points wins against their opponents. And again, it sounds a bit harsh reviewing them and sort of chucking them in together. I suppose you could throw Luke Cope in there as well. They're all relatively new pros, and with sort of 2, 3, 4 fights each. And again, we've talked about the development there. You're not going to chuck them in the deep end at any point. Not at this stage in the career.
And I think especially those lads that none of these lads do, I don't think, but come from the unlicensed background and who haven't had that amateur upbringing. I know Luke Cope and Wilkinson and the Hills have. I just mean that you do get them up here, and you look down. If anyone's familiar with the small hall scene, you look down. You've got Kevin McCauley, you've got Seamus Volosinas, you've got Michael Williams, Naheem Chowdhury, just Chris Jenkinson from Bolton, for a familiar sort of circuit fight.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, anyone around the country will recognise those names.
I stumbled on Facebook across Kevin McCauley's Facebook the other day and went on, right? And you just look, and you have a look down his profile. It's class. It's quite heartwarming, really. You look down and he's in Nando's with Chris Hadaway and all the away fighters, and he's you look down, he's mentioning cracking night in the away change.
He's probably one of my favourite boxers, Kevin McCauley.
It seems pretty close, and they were great night with the away lads tonight, and good to see such and such. And
they must see each other every week.
They must see each other all the time, and they go for pre-fight meals and stuff, and it's a nice little circle they've got there, and good. He's good, Kevin McCauley. He's good value, right? One of the good guys.
And then, did
anyone impress you out of those you've just mentioned? Cope, Wilkinson.
I think, to be honest, it's hard because none of them really dropped around.
No, that's true.
So they all did what they had to do. I think in terms of what I look for and what I enjoy in a boxer, I think Luke Cope, very, very tidy, very skillful.
Stylish,
yeah, stylish is the word. Like, he's obviously a good boxer and mover, and I think you can.
Frank Warren? Or
I was going to say,
Francis was like managing him.
Yeah, I think it's, as far as I know, he still is, and then
just learn his trade up here without,
Yeah, away from the spotlight a bit, and then obviously he's got Imran Naeem in his corner there, like very experienced trainer, and I think his style suits working with Imran. He's nice and calm and relaxed, and you can see that translating. Like obviously, again, anyone in the northeast is aware of the Cope brothers. There's about a dozen of them.
20 brothers.
Luke's the latest one off the conveyor belt.
There's more coming.
Off the production line, but but like all jokes aside, like speaking to Pete and Dan and that, his elder brothers, they've sort of long touted him before he turned pro and sort of said he was one to watch, so he's one I'm keeping my eye
on. I think I always like watching Wilkinson. See Forest Hall boxing under, Davey Richardson's his lead trainer, Fallon in his corner as well. I think Davey was saying ringside that he's had him for about 9 years now, and sort of, from a kid to this, and I think it's 5-0 now for Wilkinson. We've been to every one, I think.
Yeah.
To either one of us or both of us. Solid. I still think his best night was probably at the arena that time, where he had his opponent on the ground.
He seemed to shine a bit.
He did
on the big stage.
I think he's got a stoppage on his record at this point, but I get the impression watching him that maybe there's one to come, and there is times where he's sort of Richard-esque, and he does march forward, and he throws in body shots and stuff that people would be familiar from Richard, and you can see he's got that Forest Hall way in that, and nice kid, doesn't speak much, doesn't speak a great deal, but when you get chatting to him, he's just a no-nonsense bloke, and he's good little fighter.
I was going to say, I think that like no-nonsense translates into the ring as well. He's got a solid style, like the fundamentals are there, good technically. And
he's solid, very solid. I've enjoyed watching him so far, and I know Dave Binns from East Durham College was absolutely raving about Tom Hill's performance.
I was as well. After the fight, I went up to I went there. That was the one who knocked him out. I love how Stephen still can't tell the difference between Joe and Tom Hill.
I've still got them just mixed up as well. I meant the one that won by points.
The one that won by
points was Joe Hill.
So he boxed Kevin McCauley and won over 4 rounds. Tom's previously fought Kevin McCauley as well, just to add to your confusion. Well, I was speaking to them both afterwards, and I can't remember, maybe in Joe Law's fight they were watching, and I was standing talking to them both, and I said to Tom, you must be alright now, your kid's got his out the way, and he said, he's like a bag of nerves, like watching his brother, and obviously he's going in there later on, but watching his brother was obviously a lot more nerve-wracking, because he's got no control over it.
Said that, haven't they?
But they were saying, and again, just what you said about like the respect between the away fighters together, but also between the away fighters and the home fighters. They'd said like, he's like, they knew what to expect, trying not to go into McCauley's tricks, and he's trying to wind his rope-a-dope and giving all them like verbals and that. And he says like Joe just had to sort of keep composed and not chase the knockout, because if you commit yourself, you have the potential to look quite daft against someone like that. He's an awkward, tricky opponent.
And he knows his way around a small ring like that, doesn't he? And, but I was pleased with both Hill brothers. Popular lads, aren't they, from Teesside?
I was going to say, Joe kept his composure over the distance, and then Tom...
Benji was buzzing about Joe. Said just because he'd been out a while and needed the fight and stuff, but says he's really improved quite a lot.
Again, it's easy to be sort of seduced by the knockouts and impressed by them, but for me, like, the performance of the night was Tom Hill, like, absolutely annihilated MJ Hall in a round.
It was class to see his stoppage as well, like, as you said. We see a lot of points.
That's exactly what we were saying.
The stoppage lifts the atmosphere of the whole place, and not just ringside, but also his fans and that was supporting the two brothers. And I think there's a video of it on our Facebook page as well.
I was going to say it's across our social media.
There's a couple of different angles on there, and someone's took probably a better video than I did, because I was in the side of the ring at this point. But
like, I went over it straight after, and I called Tom Binns, and I was just saying like how impressive I found it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even like obviously the knockout, the stoppage, some big shots being thrown. But before that, he just looked so quick and sharp and quite fluid, and He caught him with a straight right hand, and you thought he's got his attention about 10 seconds into the fight here, and just put it on him from there. But
he can bang, and his nickname is One Bomb, isn't it? And you think with a nickname like that, you sort of putting a bit of pressure on yourself, because if you called it One Bomb and you say you fought 8 times and haven't had a stoppage.
Well, I think his first 2 went the distance, and it was like. I remember being in the gym and we were absolutely like, the lads were rinsing him about it, because it was like 1 bomb, 4 rounds. We call him Tom 4 rounds Hill. But I've seen both his sort of stoppage wins now as well. I was commentating on the previous one. Some bizarre chance. And then obviously he's does the business there as well. But I obviously. We'll mention Joe Laws there, so we'll move on to him.
I've got Joe Laws.
The other end of the sort of side of it is the first time he'd gone the distance as a pro.
Some of our national listeners might remember him from sort of that Ritson Patero on the card, and got his big chance on Sky Sports, didn't he, that night, and got a lot of attention since. And but back on the Small Hall show here, and as his like you say, his 4th pro fight, and 40-37.
So he didn't have things all his own way. But I think it could have been 40-36 from what I'd sort of seen of it.
You said it was the best you'd seen, boxing wise.
In terms of
from him,
yeah,
not of all time.
Tom Binns did call him, I think, Laws Machenko or something at one point. I was creased.
Can you get that?
I was like, I'm going to nick that, and then Tom Hill was like, I know where you got it from and that.
Oh, I'm definitely nicking it.
But when I say that it was the best I've seen of him, I think it was just a different performance. Because I remember seeing his debut at the Stage of My Light, and he piled in and just overwhelmed his opponent eventually. I know you saw his second fight at Rainton Meadows, and then we both saw him at the arena, and I think you got caught up in the atmosphere and the whole experience of, obviously hard not to, 9 o'clock live on Sky Sports.
But I think he probably suited that night. He did get the stoppage, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. Whereas Saturday he was a bit more patient, and he just sort of was looking for his angles a bit more, still whipping in the odd body shot and aggressive in parts, but a little bit more controlled than I've seen him. And
he's not gonna. I don't. It's funny because we discussed this on Saturday, and we said, he was 3-3, like three wins, 3 stoppages. And I was like, is he? And you're like, oh, but you sort of forgot that. Obviously, I wasn't at Stadium Light when he made his debut. I was at his second fight, and his third fight, but. Don't remember, he's more of I'd say a volume puncher maybe.
It's an accumulation, isn't it?
Rather than that big, massive one shot knockout power. But Saturday night was the first time he went the distance, and he'd be all about foot. I think rumours that, I don't know if it's been announced yet, but I'm sure it soon will be, that he's going to
exclusive on BBB.
He's going to be back quite quickly. He's going to be on that MTK show that we mentioned on the 3rd of May at Newcastle. So. Good to see a quick turnaround for him.
Well, yeah, we were just talking about Gomez Jr. earlier, and how not having the fights can derail a career and stall you as a boxer. So
if you follow him on Instagram, he can put his food away. So yeah,
quick turnaround. He was back in the gym Monday, I think he said. So straight away, pretty much, and
back in proper camp. Yeah, you say Monday. So
that's right, yeah.
So he's back soon, looking to go 5-0, and always the same as what you seen at the arena, what you seen at Rainton Meadows.
As entertaining out of the ring as he is.
Mexican hat, Mexican mask.
Again,
Country road.
Shameless plug, but we've got another video of that going around, doing the rounds of his entrance.
The whole shebang of Joe Laws was there again, and
again, rumoured to shifted, 500 odd tickets, in small halls, and that's incredible.
It's impressive, and hopefully that long may that continue.
And the more he fights as well, the more momentum he's going to build and generate.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with the ticket sellers getting the opportunities or whatever, it's hard not to get involved and get caught up in his journey. So hopefully it continues.
So. Pleased for him. Good to see him, as you say, stay active. I know he's been out from that last October fight. He's had hand surgery since, I think, as well. So good to see him back. Character.
Definitely. Move on to the upset on the card, shall we call it? Local prospect Dina Lang lost very razor thin decision to Harry Matthews. Obviously you spoke more with his team, Owen Ray, his trainer, and Dean afterwards.
Both after the fight.
Understandably devastated.
Compassionate side where I sort of it was just talking to you about that human element of you think you see someone that looks absolutely devastated, and he's, for those not familiar, Owen Ray was sort of like Davey Ritson's assistant. He was Ritson's number 2, I think, before like Fannin came involved. You know what I mean? He was in the corner for the Robbie Barrett fight and stuff. And he'd taken Dean Lamb on like a full-time basis now. Like Dean's been going a while now, but you know, with the owners his trainer now, and you know it was well documented on social media. I think they've been in camp really since December, like really getting to grips with each other. And you know, and he just looked, as you say, lost on a really narrow decision, and he looked devastated, you know, after the fight, and he couldn't believe it. Owen was absolutely gobsmacked, and they were both gutted. Whether or not it was a fair decision, you know, the fallout I've seen a lot on social media was like, no, it wasn't. But
it's interesting because I spent the fight sitting right next to Matthew's corner, so like it was tough to sort of zone that out. But what I did notice
in the away corner Saturday night.
But what I did notice was how positive they were in terms of like thinking they were in that fight. You see quite a lot of away fighters, we've talked about them just being there to go the distance.
Yeah.
This wasn't that at all. Like he came to give it a real go, and Mal Gates was sort of doing the seconds in the corner.
The only issue I think I had was Dean sort of maybe switched off around the 4-5 and maybe 6 mark.
Well, this was exactly it. They were, again, you hear these sorts of things in the corner saying, "Oh, he's tired, he's knackered, go for him," blah blah blah.
Owen admitted that though.
But they were saying those sorts of things. But what I noticed is a lot of the advice from Harry Matthews' corner was quite tactical, which again sounds daft coming from a boxing trainer. Obviously, of course, he's going to be giving tactical advice, but it was very specific. And they were talking about like, oh, Dean's jab was coming out, but his hand was coming down a bit low. So they were targeting the overhand right on the counter, and you could see him implementing that. So they had a clear game plan to try and win the fight. It wasn't just, go out there and put it on him a bit. They were actually working on things, and obviously they were, like saying, by the last round they were well up for it, and they believed they were in the fight. So I don't know if that translated to me watching it, because I thought, oh well, this is close. Like then I'd say Matthews won the last round. And then you think, well, Owen, you can make an argue for him winning the fight.
Owen, I think, said he would have either 5-1 or 4-2, which I know, you know, it's his fighter. He did admit he switched off in the 5th. The fight is online if anyone actually does listen to this bit and wants to watch it back. I think it's on the Pro Box Newcastle page on Facebook, or I might put the link out when I get in.
I probably should have watched it before giving my views, but I'll have a look.
It's interesting to see how people score, and there's been a big fallout on social media from it. It was a different referee. I'm not saying this has influenced it, but we normally have one referee up here, and that's Ron Kearney, top man. But we had another guy from Manchester whose name I forgot, Fitzpatrick.
It totally escapes me. Apologies to
offensively guess his name now. But anyway, he scored it, and he as you said, he gave it 58, 57. Matthews, is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
57, 57, whatever. 1 point in Matthews.
Yeah, it was 1 point in it.
You know, I just, you know, when you looked at someone and you thought they were just both gutted, you know, and they obviously went through the full camp, sold the tickets, and I think Owen was more gutted from a sort of, not the record, because Dean had a defeat, or maybe he's in a couple of defeats already on his record. I think it's more from a mentality point of view, he said, and also a sort of shifting tickets point of view. Like, at what point does it affect people like, oh, well, you just got beat off Harry Matthews, like, why am I going to come and spend my money on you, sort of thing? But
yeah, but it's what we just talked about there, building the momentum and that sort of strong following. Like, boxing is a very fickle sport, unfortunately. Like, fans, you know, they want to see their fighters winning, and again, it might. I hope it doesn't for Dean.
Well, I think they've had a sit down with. I think does Jaffers manage Dean? I'm not sure. I might not, but
I don't know, because he's been on the Black Flash shows as well recently, hasn't he? And he's sort of shifting around a bit.
But he said they've had a sit down with his manager and they've got a plan in place, and he'll be back in the gym. So, you know,
that's all he can do.
That's just the end of the world if he comes back from it, and that's amazing.
I guess I say, like, obviously, if his corner genuinely believe that he's won the fight, then yes, they didn't get the nod and the decision on the night, but
it's not often, I must say that.
They'll be happy with elements of that, and there'll be bits to work on, so yeah, go back to the gym and get back on it.
You don't often see an away fighter shade it, like, do you, to be honest with you?
No, again, we were talking about that,
refreshing, or a bit like,
we talked about it on Friday, how it's you know, you want to see
it's refreshing, but I think from the home fighter point of view, you'd be a bit pissed off thinking it never happened, so why is it happening to me on this occasion? And I think the both of them were just a bit like, but both.
Well, I was just going to say, like, on that note, one of like the Northeast fighters who wasn't on this particular card but boxed away this weekend, Ellis Corey from Darlington.
Yeah, good show.
He got a draw on the road against an unbeaten fighter.
George Lamport.
It was, and Pete Jefferson was putting out on social media, and sort of again, it's that unofficial thing of if you've got a draw as an away fighter, you've basically won the fight because of how it's scored. And again, it's not right.
By all accounts, Ellis did box for it. I think another guy from down that way was there and said, by the way, mate, I thought he'd won it, and and he's a good fighter, Ellis Corey, actually, and
yes,
I think
he's really skillful.
A lot of people are taking a lot of notice of him, and when it's funny, it's like
he's going to be in the position now though where no one wants him as an opponent because he's capable of winning.
The thing word gets around in this game, doesn't it? And to go down to, I sort of actually went under the radar, to be honest, going down to Reading on a Sunday afternoon to box, and you thought
it was was it the Alcesta card?
Is that what it was?
I think so. The St. Patrick's Day one.
He asked us to go for that.
Yeah, unfortunately, obviously we couldn't get down to Bracknell in a day and back on the Sunday. Unfortunately,
the travails of British boxing, which is
the glamorous side of the business.
If anyone wants to sponsor us, we'll go anywhere you want.
No, shameless plug number 4. We've only done 24 episodes, so we must be up to about 100 shameless plugs. Begging for sponsorship.
But it is good to see North East fellas go on the road, and not everyone can, come back up here. I know he's going to come back up here and fight again. I think maybe just Pete's never been shy of taking his lads on the road. He did it well at Hutchison.
Yeah, he's done with a few others.
Good on him. But good effort from Ellison.
On from close fights to the main event.
Another close fight.
Smoking Joe Maphosa, the North East prospect of the year, was fighting Louis Norman. If anyone's record ever sort of belied what their actual ability was, this lad is now 13 wins, 6 losses, but
challenger, maybe?
I personally struggle to split them. I think Joe got the nod 4 rounds to 2, and I can see why that was the case. Again, sitting right next to the away corner, you're sort of taking in everything they were saying, and at certain points they looked a bit despondent. I think it was after the second round. Norman come back and he's sort of shaking his head and not looking particularly happy, and you're thinking, how's it gonna go on? Like,
challenger, maybe?
I was gonna say he challenged for the English title. I don't think he was a British champ.
Challenged for the British and lost in Andrew Selby. Yes, just had to refresh my knowledge there.
No, but he's mixed it in decent company, and he provided a really, really stern test for Joe. He had to work. We said, I think on Saturday night, we could have done this podcast on the way home on the car, but we were talking about it, saying like often, you get these 40-36s and the boxers come out afterwards, I'm happy to get the rounds. But if the fight's been a glorified sparring session, you're not really getting a lot out of those rounds that you wouldn't get in the gym, other than boxing in front of an audience. Whereas this one, Joe's had to dig really deep. He's sustained a nasty looking cut above his left eye. Again, something that he's now experienced. He's negotiated successfully. Yep. He can take that experience, that genuine experience. It's going to help him. And again, Absolutely. We're talking, just for anyone who's not aware, this was like super flyweight, or was it, possibly a little bit above that weight in terms of what they actually weighed in at. But Joe's now 7-0. Yep. He's not going to be a million miles away from getting in that domestic mix.
I think that was it. That was, like you just said there, that was the change. That was the next step for Joe. That was a new, a live opponent, basically, like you said.
It was a fight that caught our eyes straight away as soon as it was made.
Coming to take his head off, and he got a cut, and like they both traded and exchanged. And it was class for 6 rounds. It flew over. It was relentless. It was
round 5 before we sort of realised, oh God, that's what round it is.
I know Sonny Edwards, a bit of a student of the game, was keeping up to date via our Twitter updates and stuff, and always got his finger on the pulse. And
I said back your commentary, it sounded like Norman was edging it.
Like I thought he was at one point, but it's interesting, like you said, like.
I think we're just trying to stress, like from a neutral point of view, and again we've got a North East interest there, but trying to just stress how close it was, and like again in the end, I think a lot of people ringside had it for Joe quite comfortably, but
it could have been televised, like.
Oh, it should have been
over 10 or 12.
Our game was like the national audience's loss there. I think when you and again, not slagging off Friday's show, but you see the show on Free Sports. It was
very similar.
Yeah, it was the same weight class, and you think, well, it would have made great viewing on it. Again, Saturday night, obviously a lot of competition.
But like I said earlier about those little guys that have to, they can't hide forever, and that was the Louis Norman's been very vocal recently on like social media saying, come on, like I really want to fight and I'll do it, and I guess when you look at his box rating, like he's boxed at a higher level than Joe's a pro, like English title challenges, British. Do you know what I mean? Like he's English flyweight, former English flyweight champion and stuff. And you think, but now he's sort of have to resort, and fair play him for doing this, but resort to coming up to Sunderland on a Saturday night to box 6 rounds against Maphosa, who, won the fight, but like look down his record there. He's fought Andrew Selby and some good mates, Thomas Assomba, and I think that's what I like to see with these guys. And we tweeted Louis and his Carl Greaves, his manager, the next day, just saying like, you more than played your part in a cracking fight, and I think they were angling for it to go again and on the telly.
But they'd mentioned
if that was on BT Sport on one of Frank's undercards, that would honestly people would love it. It was a really good fight. Interesting that angle about sitting near the away corner, because we were right in it on Saturday night, and I loved it for that fight and for the Matthews fight. Only because the away corner's a bit of a non-event when you sit there when, as you say, the 40-36ers, it's put the stool down, give them a drink of water, give them the spit bucket and send them back out. Do you know what I mean? But for a live technical fight, to be that close, like we were right on it, and it was...
there was one point I took the stool out of the ring. His charters had done off. He went for a hot dog or something.
Yeah, Andrew Newton, available to do seconds, any show you want.
Jack and all boxing trades, master of absolutely sod all.
But in a live fight like that, and just listen to it makes you feel like, God, how little do I know, and how much expertise these guys have got, and it's just their living, and it was just brilliant to listen to, and it can influence you sometimes, don't I think you sort of, you listen to what they're saying, you're looking for them implementing it, and you're thinking, oh, he's doing all right. Yeah, you sort of think you're in that corner.
Yeah.
It's weird, but even though we love Joe, we love him, man, and that there wasn't much to call, and I think when a few other people came over after the fight and says, oh, I think Joe's got it, and and you think, actually, maybe he did probably finish better.
After Steve Wraith came round after...
he's won that by 3 or 4.
Yeah, after fighting them.
And he won it by... I think there was no issue with me with the call.
No.
As I say, Norman's team were angling for a rematch, and I think,
it would be interesting to see the actual scorecard and see which rounds the ref gave to which boxer.
I think Maphosa would go for it again, but I think there have to be a title. It's too good to not have some sort of title on the line, in my opinion.
Yeah, there needs to be some incentive, I think.
Because
from his point of view, he's won the fight.
Absolutely, aye.
He wants to move on.
No, totally.
But from an audience point of view, I'd love to see it again.
It did go under the radar a bit last week, and it was a proper live fight, and I really enjoyed it. And good on Joe, because Joe doesn't have to take. He could have just kept going and just boxing.
Yeah, but I think
nobody's.
At some point he's got the ambition, hasn't he?
He has to go for it, and to take that over 6 rounds, a fight that flies by, you think, should I take it over 6? If you start slowly in a fight like that, then
he's struggling.
He's struggling. But credit to Joe, he dug in there, and bad cut at one point, and I went in to see him, and he had his head back, just doing it there. Had his head back, and should do it on video. This had his head back and get this cut sorted after the fight. Yes, and then
have to do your hair, get changed after work.
Uniform. But he was a good crack, and pleased to see him winning, because he's a sound person before to like.
Oh, absolutely nice. Again, this is such a cliche, but he is one of the nicest blokes you could meet.
Tommy Ward, Ring walked out with him and stuff, and he had there's a lot of support for him, especially.
And there was a little bit of hype behind him, which was nice to see. He's getting a bit of recognition.
Walking out with him and stuff. They were all close, and Luke Court was, obviously with the Man Factor cheering him on and stuff. So, good fighter, and people might know him from Frank Warren's undercards, and believe probably be on them again, a feature, I guess, as well. So, good.
Yeah, on to bigger and better things, John.
Very pleased, man.
Well done from us. I'm sure that'll mean a lot.
No, he loves us. Prospect there, yeah. Let's see his artwork on things.
Did I? Nice to see the logo. We need to get you the new logo, Joe. We'll sort it out. Right.
Stateside.
I was just going to say, from a fairly competitive fight to a very, very one-sided one. Before we talk about Spence Garcia and analyse the fight, what did you envisage happening? What did you think was going to happen?
I thought Spence
was going to win on points comfortably every round.
No, I thought a potential stoppage. I
thought we would batter him.
And I thought, I only said this only solely because of the size difference, but this is where I know you want to come in, and because
slightly a bit.
Just that.
No, because straight away afterwards, this was one, again, because it's on ITV and I can record it, I thought I'm going to get a good night's kip here.
Big up ITV, by the way.
That on free. Again, I know it was on pay-per-view in America, but they've upped their game recently, and for people like us, and obviously there's loads of boxing fans out there, the fact that it's on ITV, it's free content for us in the UK, we can record it, wake up the next morning, that's like, and I put it out there, I was talking about this, would you rather have, like, and I'm not targeting Matchroom or Frank here, but would you rather have what you consider a poor card, prime time on a Saturday night, so you can sit and watch it at a decent hour, or would you rather have a good, like a top quality card like Spence Garcia, or top quality main event, that is on at an awkward hour that you have to sort of negotiate?
You want to see the best fight the best.
Of course you do, man.
Like,
and that's my one issue with this fight. When it was made, I thought Spence wins this. I thought he's too big, he's too strong, too good, and he'll knock him out. And I was a bit... I've always got a complaint about something.
About that.
But it wasn't a fight that anyone asked for.
No,
it came out totally left field. And
Garcia moving at what, 2 weights?
Yeah, you want to see Garcia Lomachenko, Spence against Crawford, and then suddenly we've got this mismatch. It was intriguing. Don't get me wrong.
It was.
I thought Spence by stoppage. That was my prediction. I know a lot of people in the immediate build up. The closer it got,
we're going Garcia.
I think Garcia's going to do it. He's going to do it. Blah blah. And I never wavered. I thought, nah, Spence is going to stop him. And then obviously the Sunday morning, you know, you don't want to reveal spoilers and stuff, but we've got a little group on WhatsApp. So everyone sort of ignores that until everyone's up to date. No spoilers get put in. And then you sort of came on, I think the first thing you said was like, he was just too big and too strong.
And you were like, no.
I totally disagree. Only in that he was too good. He was too skillful as well. I think the size played a part.
I agree with you.
But I think it's a bit of a disservice to how good Spence is to say that it was just his size. Because I tell you what, the other boxers we've talked about and we've watched, there'll be middleweights and super middleweights that level that Mikey Garcia could deal with.
It's his consistent accuracy.
He landed about a third of his punches, you know. And he threw, I think it was rumored, like, again, I'm not one for stats, but like, I think he threw about 1,000 punches in the whole fight, and he landed over 300 of them. It's at the highest level when you think how good, skillful Garcia is.
And he just booms them in, and it's just straight as a die, and like, you just think, like, he sort of did a Brook, similar to that sort of second half of the Brook fight where he just dismantled him with like just accuracy.
With that in mind,
accuracy and power.
Fair licks to Garcia for taking it.
I know, absolutely, but not power as in like flatten you on your back power, but enough power.
I think early on he'd landed enough hard, accurate shots
to knock the wind completely
to just, as you said, deter and demoralise Garcia. By about round 4 or 5, you think like Garcia didn't look like he was going to not try and win, because that again, he's obviously in there to win it, but he didn't really do anything. He didn't change his game up. He didn't take any risks, and again, understandable. Like, you're in there with a bigger and on the night better man like Spence. I think, and it sounds silly because I think a lot of people who leant towards Garcia in the build-up underestimated just how good Spence was. They sort of saw him as this big athletic welterweight who's going to look to be stronger and more powerful. But like, it was Spence's jab, his footwork. He was just kept him, again, as a taller man, it's a little bit easier, but he kept him out of range. And then as the fight went on, Spence was happy working on the inside. Whatever he did, Garcia didn't have the answer to. Like, Spence was just better in every department.
Like, he never misses. He's like a darts player who consistently hits treble 20, and he's just like anything.
Head body.
And he's just so accurate but powerful with it at the same time. And it was really, there's not many flaws in his game at all. And like,
he was so calm.
I just hope he fights Crawford.
And again,
I just think that's it. That is
that's the only one.
147 pounders.
I think that's the only 50-50 fight I can make. I would favour Spence strongly against Danny Garcia if you fought him, Porter, Pacquiao, Thurman. Like, you'd favour Spence.
Then they got Pacquiao in the ring after the fight.
Rolled my eye. Exactly. Same face as you just made there.
I don't know, you just think that division suffered in the past from when people were at the best, not fighting each other, and like, don't let it happen again, just do it. Like, Crawford's fighting Khan, but then do it later in the year, but then,
it's a top rank PBC divide.
Absolutely,
It's so annoying because As
I love Crawford, by the way.
Again, that's what I mean. He's the only one I would give a chance of beating Spence, and at the moment,
do you think it's mental?
I wouldn't want to pick it.
Can't pay-per-view. Because I think that depends. I think Crawford will batter him, and I just think
it's so funny because if you watch the build, if you listen to the quotes from Bob Arum and Top Rank and stuff, they're basically bigging up Khan's chances, and in that sort of thing, like normally. They're top rank. They've got an outside fighter in.
Yeah.
Normally they'd be bigging up Crawford, saying, "Oh, he's going to win." But I think they know that he is going to win quite comfortably. Like I can't see any other outcome than a Crawford knockout there.
I think it depends if you think it's
Crawford's a nasty man as well. Like, he will go for the finish if it's there.
It depends how you view Amir Khan. Do you view him still as an elite 147 fighter? Like, I don't know. Is he
top 10?
Nah, that's my point. So
right. So how many we just listed there? Spence, Crawford, Danny Garcia beat him at 140, admittedly, but he beat him. You'd say Porter as the WBC champion is better than Khan in 2019. Thurman. There's 5 straight away.
That's true,
Might struggle beyond that. I think.
See, Kell Brook was shouting Spence's name.
I'm sick of it.
He said Spencer's still after me. Spence still mentions my name because he knows I was beating him and that.
Like, if his eye hadn't have gone, he'd have won the fight.
That man is.
It wasn't exactly an accident.
Perennial state of tune-up fights. That man, he just goes in a circle. He just tunes up for what? Like he'll tune up one day and not start again. Like just like
giving him a notion of credit though. Like you hinted on it earlier without really thinking about it. Brook took a lot of rounds off Spence. And he obviously ultimately got stopped, and I give full credit to Spence for that. I'm not one for saying, it's his Brook's face.
He didn't hit his eye off the bloody turnbuckle. You know what I mean?
It was punches that done that damage, of course it was. But he performed quite well against Spence.
He did.
I think Spence won the fight, like again, justifiably. There's no arguing with that for me. But when you see like Garcia, I think I gave Garcia 1 round. Yeah. Sort of, I can't remember what round it was, maybe 3 or 4. But again, like no arguments with Spence cleaning the ball. They won every single round on every judge's scorecard. He looked like phenomenal.
And I think Kell Brook I don't know. I think he's going to have to chase these fights now to end his career. And he may have to go back to stateside. And at one point in this podcast, I said, he'll not go there now. He'll just chase.
What else is there?
There's nothing.
Liam Smith fight. Is that
a money? Is that a career-ending money fight?
Does that get settled as a pay-per-view?
You hear this term cash-out fights now, don't you? Like De Gale and Bellew and
it's that generation we're talking about. Brook's firmly part of that.
And he's come to the end. And
he needs to just pick a weight class.
He says,
he's fighting. You said there about a tune-up. He's rumoured to be fighting on. Is it the Joshua undercard?
Joshua Miller. It's something like
some catch weight.
147 and 155. Is there? And you're like. Still not,
but well, that's the thing. I think
he's desperate. I think for a big fight.
He used the weight as one of the reasons for losing to Spence at 147 because he had to crash back down to that after. But he had to crash back down after the Golovkin fight, which again I can see why it's difficult. But Hearn had planted that seed for about 6 fights before
he'll never make 147. It's dangerous as hell. Blah blah blah. But now he's talking about I can make it for the right inner.
Well, this is it. Then he moved up, and I think they've looked and thought, well, actually. The champions at 154 are formidable. Like I wouldn't favour him against any of those. Like Jared Hurd's an absolute beast. So then again, there's the talk of the Khan fight, and it was like, I can make 147 for Khan.
That's not happening.
And then suddenly it's like, well, can I make 147 for another money fight? Should it come along?
I don't think they know what the plan is for Brook. You know, at one point, at least Spence had
he looked poor in his last fight as well. So
I did. Spence, it's Bramall Lane. This is our plan. Where to get Spence over here. Like I'm not having any more with this new.
Well, that was the mandatory as well, though, wasn't it? The Spence fight, so they didn't necessarily have a choice, but they made a big event out of it.
And I just think.
And he come unstuck.
I think like you say, he'd probably fight on the Joshua undercard, and then he's got to take a chance. Really, he's going to have to fight someone like that now in America. If not, his career's just going to. Limp to a sorry end, I guess. What
a waste that is, though. When you think, like as I say, he took some rounds off Spence. He's beat Porter. He's obviously was a massive talent, but then it's such a unfulfilled potential.
But the way, and I know we could dedicate a full episode of this, and I'll not get into that much. But the way the sort of shift is going at the minute, where you used to be able to get fighters like Spence over here and Golovkin over here to fight Brook, do you know what I mean? But this new shift towards a US-centric market.
I was trying to think of this though.
And I just think, I kind of see him no one will come over here to fight Kell Brook.
There's been a few examples that you've just mentioned there in a fairly short window. But before that, when like Eddie first got involved in matchroom and boxing, like you still had, it's not necessarily, like, Khan's obviously always fought away from in America. Hatton did it towards the end of his career. He had the Costa Zoo fight over here, and then went over to America for the bigger fights. Then Calzaghe, obviously again, he got absolutely hammered for fighting at home for most of his career, and then he went off. Froch obviously went across for the it was the Super 6, not the Super Series, the Super 6. Couldn't think which one was, but he had to go over there for the big opportunities. That's not a new thing.
No, it's not a new thing. I just think
it's just that we've now got this promoter, and as I say, with BT and sort of the ESPN deal and like the MTK ESPN, and there seems to be more of a shift for the non-elite boxers to go over to America. They're getting the opportunities to do it.
And I just think Brook, the state, big, where he's at in his career now, I just don't think he's a big enough name to, he can't really sell out Sheffield Arena, do you know what I mean? And I just think, well, it hasn't got that draw to him anymore. Like, no one's like, oh yes, Kell Brook, Sheffield Arena, he's going to fight such and such.
And I think that comes with the...
he's going to have to take a chance on the road now, I think.
Not just with the losing, because obviously he lost to Golovkin. It's like the manner of it and the physical damage that he took there. Because then Spence has done it as well. He's almost viewed as damaged goods. He's lost that aura of invincibility. He's stuck between weights. He's obviously separated with Brendan Ingle.
That's true. And chasing the
Brendan, sorry, is it Dominic Ingle? Brendan, I always get the names mixed up.
And I think people are bored
with the Ingle gym.
People are bored of him chasing the corn fight and vice versa.
Oh, I'm fed up to the back teeth of it.
It's day, you know, and you just think like,
I have no interest in it. Like, it's not a relevant fight for the sort of landscape of boxing. I'd rather see him in with like a rematch Porter, or like put him in with
why does June have to be a tuna fight? That's 6 months from his last fight. He last fought on the 8th of December against Michael Zarafa. So
I think because of how he looked in that one.
Because everyone's spoken for every decent, because he can't fight it. Like, because everyone's got dates, or like.
I don't think they have though. Like Porter's rumored to be in the mix for the Spence fight. Pacquiao's there. Like, there are welterweight fighters out there that would be a good test for him.
Like his last Rabchenko, March 2018, Zarafa. December 2018. So then June 2019.
This was the whole thing. It was the step up to 154 to super welterweight. That was his new sort of push.
Yeah.
And then again, and just what you've said there, he spent most of that time calling for the Khan fight at 147.
So June 2019. That's like
having told everyone he can't make that weight anymore.
In a year and a half, basically, from the start of 2018 to say Joshua Miller undercard, he'd had 3 tune-up fights. Rabchenko, Zarafa, and this next one. You think, well,
it goes back to the days of when he had. Like, 3 IBF eliminators in a row.
What's your plan? Like, what is it?
There's always that next fight, and that's almost as unfortunate the story of his career. And I feel terrible. Like, it sounds like absolutely hammering the bloke.
Stuck in a cycle of.
But I was like a massive fan of him on ability.
Huge,
and unfortunately, we didn't get to see that ability against the best welterweights. Like, he missed such a window there. He could have had so many good fights, and for whatever reason, they didn't materialise. And it's a bit of what if.
That's a good discussion. I know. Leave that there and look ahead to this weekend.
What a way to end that.
Just
shout out for Mick Conlon just before we move on.
Go for it.
Obviously, again, like headline in New York, St. Patrick's Day.
It's like an annual event now, isn't it?
And, well, that's the thing. Like, that's what the building. It doesn't get much better for an Irishman in New York. He's just like top rank, and again, like the MTK link up suits him. He's sort of represented from both parties there, and. I think I enjoy watching him because I enjoy a slick, stylish boxer, as we sort of alluded to earlier. The lack of pop, maybe, lack of that solid power at the top level. Is the only sort of real question mark on just how far he can go, but all the best to him.
I like watching him. It is interesting to see how far he will go as a pro, 100%, because he's a cracking amateur fighter as well.
So on to this weekend then. So
this weekend we're both
London bound
to London. Looking forward to it.
I was just obviously discussing it a little bit beforehand. Little Charlie Edwards, the world title fight was the one we'd actually missed out and neglected to discuss last time we talked about the card. But
it's a solid enough card for Matchroom.
It ticks the boxes of a normal Sky card, doesn't it? It's got the world title fight. It's got British and Commonwealth unification, however bizarre that is, seeing as Okoli already was the Commonwealth. British light heavyweight title fight. Yeah. Again, if you look solely on the betting odds, there are heavy favourites in each of the fights, but Okoli Camacho was a decent enough little fight on paper.
Absolutely.
But Conroy, again, like whatever you however you gauge those fighters, they're all coming to win. They've all got winning records. They'll all be coming with the ambition of winning.
Yeah, absolutely. It is decent. It's probably not as good as the card that we after the Liverpool one, which I quite like. The Fowler Fitzgerald.
No, there's a bit of depth to that one as well.
That's decent, and I think we might be entering into a sort of new era of sort of British headliners now. Like in these shows, like
it is like
but
the next generation.
I've got no issue with seeing a card with, like you said there, live fights, as in title fights between sort of people like Ritson, Boazzi, Okoli, Edwards. Like they're solid enough people to have on these Sky Sports shows, and maybe the days are gone where you're gonna get, like we've just touched before, like your Brooks, your Spencers. I know they were pay-per-views, but like in this country,
it's not possible to have the.
It's almost time for a new generation of fighters to now.
Like we talked about last. Okay, well, maybe last time, I don't know what we've talked about on the podcast and what we've just talked about.
We talk about this every week. But there's a void, there has been a void, and you've got a lot of big names retired, say, in the last few years that are traditional.
The UK doesn't have 13, 14 world champions at the moment, so you're not going to get a fight on every month for a world title.
And I can list, like that Matchroom stable, I keep saying every week, you know what I mean? You've lost a lot of the big hitters from that.
We've discussed it, so like your biggest. Like
you
again,
need,
the fact
you need people like Boazzi now, as you said.
Yeah.
And I think
I don't think he's a million miles away either. Like obviously, this is for the British.
No, it's the British.
But I would fancy him strongly to make that leap up. We've talked about Ritson and Cheeseman, who obviously fell short at European level. I think Boazzi's going to get to that level very quickly and be in that mix.
And I like Ian Conroy. We've obviously seen him a lot over the years ourselves on them sort of MTK Manchester World shows at Preston and that, and a fighter that is. Like you said, he's former English title, and I think like IBF youth.
He's got himself in this position.
He's got himself there through his own hard work and his own successes. But you just think this weekend it could be a step too far, and I hope it's not like nastily a step too far. But you just think
it has the potential.
It has the potential in a Boazzi stoppage, and but I hope for good fighting.
Yeah, we're not alone in rating Boazzi very highly. Like a lot of people up and down the country will be fancying him very strongly this weekend.
Absolutely,
and it's more a indication of how highly people rate him than a slight on Liam Conroy.
No slight at all. And I just think slowly but surely now that sort of that last breed of Olympians that Matchroom signed and now sort of working their way into like meaningful fights now. Coley has done for a few. Fowler and Fitzgerald. Cordina's got Townend, which again is not a little bad fight for Cordina. Boazzi, do you know what I mean? So they're all now just beginning to
pushing their way up.
And I think that's what people wanted to see.
To be fair though, like again, I understand the criticism of them fighting very limited opponents that have got almost no chance against them. But they've all been pushed fairly quickly in terms of the number of fights. Like Coley he's had some decent fights for. No, is he 9-0, 10-0 around about that? Like Boazzi's obviously fewer fights than that. Like Cordina's around the same level. Fowler's a similar amount of fights. Yeah. They've all been pushed on within. Before they've got into double digits in terms of contests.
Fowler was it? Late. I think this is Fowler's first meaningful fight in it. Do you know the Fitzgerald one?
But still, then he hasn't had like a lot of fights.
No, he seemed to take a little longer to get there, but that's good on it, and it's good that one's made now, the Fitzgerald one, and it should be a good fight that next week. And anyway,
but it is. There's a couple of decent weekends coming up.
I'm in Dusseldorf in the start. I would fancy going to that, but you can't get them all, can you? But anyway,
I don't know what I'm doing for that one. I might apply.
I used to save your money when you get married.
I'll give Dan a message. I didn't tell her.
No. So
she doesn't listen now anyway. It's fine.
There's a Friday night show on Dunstan Fed, kind of that on stage, Black Flash.
Oh, there is. I am aiming for that one as well. Yeah. Again, we're just talking like obviously how busy it's been this weekend gone, but the next few there's a decent amount of boxing content coming up.
It was a bit quiet. I was looking today. I don't know what. Cron.
Well, there's the
What is it?
I don't know. I was just going to say, there's the Sambo and Jordan McCrory fight coming up as well on BT Sport. The rescheduled Leicester show. Frank Warren's.
Fighter that we've seen a lot of.
I've seen him win a couple of Scottish titles. He's a 2-weight Scottish champion.
Similar to Conroy, you hope it's not a step a bit too far. I know a lot of sometimes the Scottish lads struggle maybe to, just make that jump to British level.
It's a big step up against Sam Bowen.
Because someone will go, Josh Taylor. I mean,
Josh is the exception. Well,
MTK
David
Scotland
Brophy, for
fighters,
example. Obviously, again, another lad we love, out his depth against George Groves, for example.
Like Butcher, Little Ian Butcher, and there's a few that have, I struggle to make that jump, and I hope he can. But I like Bowen. I think he's a really good fighter as well. So, that's a good fight. So yes, looking forward to this Saturday. 2 of us going down. London, decent enough card. We do give Matchroom a lot of sticks sometimes, but we also praise them when it's decent enough. And
that's the thing. I think, and I'm not going to sort of slag off other boxing accounts on social media and that, but I do think some of them exist purely to slag off either Matchroom, Frank Warren, or just to complain about stuff in general. And we joke, I can be fairly cynical, but exactly. But I think it's where it's warranted. I've thoroughly enjoyed the boxing this weekend, and every single show there, a range from the small hall to the pay-per-view world title, pound for pound fights, and there's something in there for everyone. But again, it's just what I see is fair. I'll sort of call it as I see it.
Aye, definitely. And I look forward to it, and it'd be good to have a night away and see a few familiar faces, and the return of Richard as well. I think from our but I'll mention it. Return of Richard, and I guess it felt like not that we had to or we were obliged to do it, just someone that we've closely followed through the outset of BBB, and it's just another step on that journey. Do you know what I mean? Another chance to go down there and see, and follow him closely, and that's it.
No, I was just going to say, on that note, it's been billed as obviously his comeback, but also he's fighting for his first title in his new weight class. And to be honest, I saw him on Saturday, and he does look well.
I was thinking that.
I'm going to be a massive hypocrite here because, to be honest, I'm not, because it's nothing I haven't said to him, or I won't say it. Won't say it to him when I see him. But I've always found it a bit of an excuse, and it hasn't really sat well with me when fighters move up in weight after a loss, or they move down in weight after a loss, because it's almost like, looking for that excuse.
Yeah.
And again,
I'll either change my trainer or go up or down a weight.
Exactly, and it's it's another one where Eddie Hearn sort of had hinted at it beforehand, so he's a massive lightweight, blah, 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 and then he's lost a fight when, to be honest, I think he's stepped up in level.
Yeah.
And he's lost that fight. There's no shame in that.
I think...
However...
go on.
And I think I mentioned this previously as well, speaking to Lewis and speaking to a couple of other boxers, it's that they didn't necessarily know how badly the weight cut was affecting them until it was too late. It's at that last possible moment, and you can't quite... Just the dog walking through there. And you can't quite cut the...
I know what you're saying, you can't quite cut them last... Put that bit out in there.
Did he open that door?
Yeah.
Not the door. Go on, you want a tangent there. You want to go... It's a good point.
I know, I can remember where I stopped as well. And it's only that last possible moment when you're trying to shift those extra couple of pounds, or even on fight night. And it was, I know which fight I was talking about this with. It was Lee Selby and Warrington. Obviously, Selby's now moved up in weight.
Yeah.
And I think it was Enzo McManley on Twitter I was talking to about it, and he'd said, basically, Selby could have been absolutely fine all the way through camp, sharp, strong, as quick, as fit as he ever was. And then that fight week, trying to get those extra few pounds off, it might have been a bit more difficult. He might have done it no bother, and it might have just been on fight night in the ring. That strength, that endurance, whatever it is gone. And it sort of changed my view on it a bit. So while I don't really value the WBA title that he's fighting for, we called that, by the way, that it was going to be some international belt. It'll get him a rank in it, super lightweight.
The Argentinian champion, Benitez, I don't know anything more about him, so don't ask.
That's all I know.
I think going back to what you've just said there, that when the difference with Richard, I guess, is that we sort of get that sort of first-hand insight, and you hear, I was speaking to his dad on Saturday, and they said similar to what you said, that I think it was only since he went with Neil Fannin, that they realised just because I think Richard was basically hid it from his dad. Like they didn't realise just how much he basically wasn't eating. He was nil by mouth, and just to shift this last bit of weight, and they said it was, and I think when he went with Fannin and went over to America and that, they were just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you killing yourself? Do you know what I mean? And he was, I think now he's finally got some like food prep and nutritionist people on board. And I remember saying to some of our first interviews that like, oh, I wore elasticity, and just takes like he did his own
a little bit of chicken and rice.
That's it. And, but I just think they were sort of like, he said to me that, I think Fannin said to him that if you don't get rid of any like lightweight in this country within the first 5 rounds, you'll get beat off anyone, because you kind of do it. Like, he was knackered, and I think that success, like we saw of those, Murray, Cardle, bang, Highland, bang, you'll do it. But once Patera flipped that switch, and it was like, oh shit, I can't knock you out here. Like, I'm knackered. And
it was a long stretch, wasn't it?
And I think he was buoyed by that recent sparring in America as well, which I think he sparred that Michael Lespierre, who beat Fuku, and a few other sort of prospects over there, and just I think he sparred Dave Avanesian last week as well, which was meant to be a cracking spar by all accounts as well. And like you said on Saturday, like you see someone, he didn't have to be there, I guess, supporting his dad and Terry Wilkinson and that, but a week before fight night, and I just, like you said, he looked well, sort of worked the room, smile on his face, time for everyone, which I know he did anyway. But I always remember when you think back to that time we saw him in the Metro Centre that way, and he just looked
it's a bit of hindsight with what happened afterwards, but watching that interview back,
he was drawn in the face,
a bit bags around the eyes and stuff.
But Saturday,
it's easy to point out now after the event.
Well, I'm eating, man. He just can eat now, and I think it just makes all the difference. Hopefully, but again, the proof will be in the pudding. So, see how it goes. Pudding.
Brilliantly played.
Looking forward to it anyhow, and again,
on that note, it's 8:15 and I still haven't had my tea.
Hasn't. He's couldn't wait. He's dead at the weight.
I'm looking gone.
He's got bags under his eyes and everything here. He wants his spag ball.
So on that note, we'll leave it till after Saturday and either
a few interviews on that Saturday done and crack on.
We'll add a bit more to the YouTube.
Could do an instant reaction on Saturday night, or at least try and get an instant interview with some bugger. Anyone that wants to talk.
Shall I sit and film me as the boxing's going on?
A vlogger.
Give my reaction. Imagine if anyone sees me doing that on Saturday night, you've got my permission to come and smash me 400 bits, Conor McGregor style.
My permission as well. No, thank you very much.
Well, we'll call that a night, and then we'll hopefully get one in the aftermath of the Copper Box show on Saturday.
Excellent. Next one. Thank you.
Cheers.